It's in the final week of the IHSA football season. It's a rivalry that needs no explanation. The Washington Panthers travel to Malone Field and Metamora with an undefeated season and conference title on the brain, while the Redbirds look to play spoiler after a 2-week COVID pause. And a season without playoffs, this is about as big as it gets. And we welcome you into the Clutch Sports Media Game of the Week. It's the Washington Panthers traveling to take on the Metamora Redbirds. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us alongside John Camosa. I'm Larry Larson, and John, like we said, whenever you get Washington Metamora, the stakes are high, but this year it's a little different. You got the Panthers dominating the Mid-Illini Conference so far this season through 5 weeks, and the Redbirds haven't played in 2 weeks.
Yeah, not to be overlooked, though. Daryl Crouch told us earlier this week that, he thinks this is going to be a really close game. You can never come to a Metamora Washington game and not expect a battle. I think tonight's going to be an all-out battle as well, and should be a really close game.
Should be a fun one to watch. The Panthers, as we mentioned, entering this one at 5-0, coming off a victory last week over Canton, dominating them 46-14. And the Redbirds enter this one at just 2-1. They've been on pause for the last 2 weeks, and the last game they played was just after April Fool's Day, and it was no joke. They fell to Dunlap 21-14. And John, anytime you get that 2-week COVID pause, that's something we've talked about so much this year, whether it's the pros, college level, or high school level. But what does that do to a team? Yeah,
it definitely kind of throws you out of your rhythm. Week by week you're coming into games, got some momentum going, especially after their 2 wins. But, in this COVID era, you really can't. It's unpredictable. You just kind of roll with the punches. And, luckily tonight they're coming out in a big game and can make a statement here at home to end the season.
They certainly can. And we're not sure of the exact Mid-Illini Conference rules in terms of standings with COVID. However, if Washington wins, they win the title outright. But if Metamora wins and hands Washington that one loss, there's that outside chance that the Redbirds, the Panthers, and Dunlap can share that conference title.
Yeah, we saw the same going into the basketball season. We saw Washington Metamora close out the regular season, whereas Washington ended, perfect record there in conference. Chance for the football team to do the same tonight, but they're not going to get it easy. I think Metamora is definitely going to put up a fight, and a lot to watch for in this game tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, we'll get a look at our keys to the game, but first, I want to talk about the weather. The weather, it's been raining all day, and of course here at Malone Field, it's a beautifully manicured natural grass field. Do you expect to see some players slipping and sliding?
I think you do, especially when you look at speed on both sides. Washington, they like to get out and run it, especially on the ground and then through the air as well, but you might see some players slipping and sliding tonight a little bit, especially with that field being a little damp.
There you see tonight's forecast courtesy of weather.com. Temperature feels like football weather, right about 55 degrees. Wind shouldn't be much of a factor. End of game temperature at 53. That chance of rain, coming and going. It was 100% earlier, but 15% chance as the night goes on. Now, John, we'll take a look at our keys to the game. And starting with the host Redbirds, to start, just have some fun. They haven't played in 2 weeks. You got to come out strong, and you got to have fun in your final game of the season.
Yeah, it's definitely a game you got to look forward to. Even having those 2 weeks off due to the COVID break, but then coming in and knowing that you have your final home game, especially we saw senior day presentations before the game started, knowing that you get to close it out against your rival in Washington should be a really enjoyable game. And like you said, Larry, just soak it in and enjoy the moment.
There, as you see the Redbirds enjoying the moment as they rip through their tear-through. The rest of the keys to the game, John, a little more technical for the Redbirds. Contain the run and win the trenches. Their advantage tonight is certainly going to be their size up front.
Yeah, they certainly are. You got a lot of size in there, and you look at Andrew Polimas going to Ole Miss. That's a player to be reckoned with right there, and I think Washington's going to kind of have their hands full as well. But both teams are going to put up a battle, and look at a lot of other things at Washington. You especially look at their quarterback, Nick Williams, how consistent he's been. Something that Metamora's defense will definitely want to do is contain him a little bit as well.
And just before we get going for kickoff, Washington's keys to the game, defensive ends to kind of contain that front for Metamora on offense, and don't bite on the fake. Metamora loves to run the ball, but if you bite on the fake a little bit too much, you can air it out down the field, and that results in an easy touchdown. We're all set for kickoff. Washington won the toss and deferred, so they will receive the second half kickoff, and Metamora will receive the ball to start the game.
Back deep for Metamora.
12 minutes on the clock. Peyton McDonald and Zach Poston, back to return. Paul Sporer will kick it off for the Panthers, and we are underway from Malone Field for the final game of the IHSA spring season. Beautiful boot by Sporer, and it will be a touchback. It's not often you see a high school kicker boot it all the way into the end zone, John.
Yeah, it was quite the kick right there, with a chance for Metamora to start their first drive at the 20. See what they can do here.
The Redbirds will start from their own 20. As you meet the Metamora offense on the lower half of your screen, John, Connor Willerton, a player to watch, of course, under center. He comes out in a bit of a wishbone formation here. That's a give up the middle to Ethan Petrie. He picks up 10, and Ethan Petrie is a name we're going to be calling a lot tonight, John, listed as the starting running back, but he's built as a fullback.
Certainly is, and credit to that offensive line. Nice block right there to give him that hole to run through, and we know that's going to be a factor tonight as well.
2nd and 1 forthcoming. Redbirds still in that tight formation. Give to Petrie again, and why not? He moves the chains for the Redbirds.
We knew that coming in. Metamora likes to run it on the ground, pound it up the middle, and doing a good job right there moving those chains.
Mason Geltz with the tackle, but it was too late. And, John, these past few years we've seen the Redbirds kind of spread it out a little bit. They like to air it out, but not this year. They've changed it up. We're going to see a lot more running the ball. And that throws off Washington. They'll get an offsides penalty here. It'll move the Redbirds up 5 yards. But it's not really customary that, we've seen Metamora go run heavy.
Yeah, years past when they were going on their state championship runs, a lot of run game, kind of going back to that tradition. You got a lot of blockers up front, too, so it's something that they can obviously take advantage of and run the ball a lot more.
Of course. Jared Grebner said, we knew that our front players were going to be our strength, so we wanted to kind of put the ball in their hands, not literally, but figuratively. Connor Willerton, on the keeper there. Picked up a gain of 1. Looks like it'll be 2nd and 4.
The thing with Connor Willerton as well as Nick Williams on Washington's side, both quarterbacks throw the ball, but they like to run it as well. Saw a QB keeper there from Willerton.
Sends a man in motion. It's Poston, and the give is to Petrie. Bounces to the outside and gets tripped up at the 50. He was oh so close to busting a long one there, John.
Certainly was. And Larry, going back to your point, you talked about that grass being a little slick. You see Petrie kind of slide after the initial hit, and he said it could play a factor tonight.
Oh, it certainly could. We saw a few players tripping in warm-ups. But as the night goes on, that grass is going to dry out a little bit. And anytime you come to Malone Field, you can't help but notice the quality of the grass. I mean, it's just so beautiful. Viewers with a good look there, and the give on the end around to Poston. And it looks like he got to the 50-yard line, but not much further.
I think early on is kind of going to play how this game goes. You're going to see a lot of Poston, you're going to see a lot of Petrie getting touches tonight.
Metamora chewing the clock. First 2 minutes of this one. Final game of the season for both these squads. No IHSA playoffs, so playing for a conference title tonight. Washington undefeated. Willerton, another handoff to Poston. This time he gets a little further. Gain of 3. And there you see Poston. We talked about Petrie a few minutes ago, John, but Poston listed as a starting wide receiver, but we're going to see him a lot carrying the ball on the ground and on those end arounds.
Yeah, certainly are. Good player, good finding those holes, Metamora's offensive line obviously giving those to him and doing a good job of running right through him.
Willerton on the play action, trying to weave his way to the chains, and he is well short. A big stop by the Washington defense. Metamora's front 5 can't buy him many yards there. That'll be 4th and 3.
Gain of 3 brings up 4th down.
The Redbirds will go for it. Here the Redbirds faithful come to life. Petrie in the backfield. It's the end around to Poston to the outside. It's going to be close. Looks like he's right on that 41-yard line. And it
Extend-
looks on that spot it might be short.
Yeah, extended his arms there, but not going to get it.
Short of a first down.
Turnover on downs.
Turnover on downs.
Huge stop by the Panthers early on.
Yeah, Larry, and you talked about that Washington defense, how good they've been this season, only allowing 9.6 points a game. So I think that was a big stop for them to get that momentum here going into their offensive drive.
You can't understate that mental aspect, John. You come out of the gates and start strong. That does wonders for a team. Even Washington's defense, which probably has no shortage of confidence entering this one. But now the offense takes over, led by senior quarterback Nick Williams. A dynamic threat, can throw it, but also very dangerous with the legs. And he gives off to the running back there. And after a pickup of 2, he's pushed well behind the line of scrimmage. That was Borges on the carry. Junior, standing at 5'9", but you see Washington's front able to, give him some forward progress there.
And their offensive line is going to be big as well tonight. Obviously creating those holes for their running backs to get through. And like we talked about before the game started, that's going to be a battle of the trenches.
2nd and 7.
Especially with the wet conditions early on, we're probably not going to see a ton of throwing the ball. Williams out of the gun, quarterback option. And before he's stopped, he picks up a gain of another 2 yards. And that's one thing that Darryl Crouch said is, sometimes we're just going to have to take those gains of 2, gains of 3, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, Nick Williams has really done that. When they need a first down, he's been good about getting the ball and running it himself. And seen him kind of, since the start of the season, really kind of grow into his own a lot more. And arguably one of the best players in the Mid-Illini as far as behind center.
Drew Lewis, a playmaker, checks into the game for the Panthers before 3rd and 3. You see him in the slot on the bottom of your screen. Number 9 in white. Williams has the play call. Big 3rd down coming up. Williams, the screen to Lewis, and he loses the football. He dives back on it. Either way, he's short of the sticks. Pass is ruled incomplete. That's the right call there, John, and now it's 4th and short.
Yeah, kind of a tough play there for Lewis to try to corral that and go a little bit behind him. The time he turned around, like you said, that might play a little bit with that weather condition. The ball might be a little bit slick, and ultimately couldn't corral that one.
4th and 3 for the Panthers.
4th and 3, and Washington will not go for it. The man back deep to return for the Redbirds is Solomon Schwartz. But we will take a timeout. Timeout Metamora, perhaps anticipating a fake, and we will take this break to remind you that tonight's presentation of Mid-Illini Conference football on ClutchSportsIL.com is brought to you by the United States Army. With more than 150 career paths to explore, plus comprehensive benefits to help you along the way, the U.S. Army has what it takes. To find out more, call the Peoria Army Recruiting Station at 309-689-0071 or text AVKQ to GO Army. And by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington. For all your insurance needs, call 309-444-4441. It's Jake Weston State Farm. And by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. So the Redbirds took a gamble earlier. Washington does not take the same gamble. Punt is off, and it's a good one. Schwartz is not going to bother with it as that one takes a Redbird bounce, and it will be downed at the 11-yard line. A great kick by the Panthers special teams unit.
A 40-yard punt for Washington. Metamora takes over 1st and 10.
Nice punt there from Washington. Mark him down at the 11-yard line.
Early on here, as the offenses start to settle in, it's going to be a bit of a field position battle. See the Redbirds come out under center. Willerton, the quarterback. There's the give to Petrie. Bowls over a man. Still on his feet. An impressive run for the 5'10", 220-pound junior. It'll be 2nd and short.
Brought down by Jack Lemus.
Getting that extra yardage, fighting. Tough player to bring down. Seeing that, especially on the first drive.
Anytime you talk about fullbacks or those halfback types, tailbacks, you want to talk low center of gravity. and Petrie really has that, you can tell, with his running style. Now Willerton's going to go out of the gun for the first time today. Fake, throws out wide. It's Poston. Poston, green grass in front of him, and a great tackle from behind. 41 on the tackle for Washington.
Gain of 17 on the play, moves the chains of Metamora.
That's a reception of 17. Looked like it could have been a touchdown, but probably a point-saving tackle by the Washington defense.
A lot of running early on, but the pass definitely worked for them right there.
Willerton, the give to Poston. He continues to stay on his feet. How about these Metamora runners early on, John? So many yards after contact.
Yeah, they just fight for extra yardage. You know, it's so tough to bring down between Poston and Petrie, and really grinding out there, showing they definitely want to pick up this bragging rights win.
Absolutely, and who doesn't? And it was funny, I was sitting up here in the press box yesterday. We came out to chat with Coach Grebner of Metamora, and I asked him, well, you know, obviously it's the Washington game, last game of the season. Is there any extra juice? And somebody up here sitting next to us in the press box said, it's the Washington game, man. as if there needs to be any extra juice.
Yep.
False start on the Redbirds here. And that'll move them back. And we have not seen a lot of flags early on, John, but that's one thing that both head coaches mentioned to me, is that in a game like this against two good ball clubs, you can't afford those mistakes, and you can't afford to play from behind the chains.
Yeah, certainly. And, you know, if Washington's only allowed, say, 9 points per game this year, and Metamora is also very solid on defense, it could see a lower scoring game tonight, especially with the weather condition. And like you said, mental mistakes and penalties would be crucial in a game like this.
And you look at the schedules entering this one for both teams. Metamora and averaging 37 points a game. Washington around the same. Ryan Bagol on the carry, tripped up after a short gain. But both those offenses averaging a ton of points against teams that you'd kind of expect them to run the score up against. And the one game that sticks out on both of these teams' schedules to me is that Dunlap game. Washington won 14-7 against Dunlap, and as we mentioned in the open, Metamora lost 21-14. So low-scoring battles against those Eagles. And so I think that's probably a pretty good idea of what we're going to see tonight.
Yeah, you definitely play up to your competition in games like this, and you certainly, you know, even though they're scoring 37 a game, doesn't mean it's going to translate in a game like this. Metamora's defense is definitely going to show up today.
Willerton slips up just past the 40. He had a little space, tried to make a man miss, but it's hard to do that on wet grass. So another 4th down, and this time the Redbirds will send out the special teams unit.
And we're seeing that early on. You saw that with Poston. You saw that with Willerton. That grass will play a little bit of a factor here.
Drew Lewis back deep to return for the Panthers. He's a name we're going to talk about a lot tonight. Been one of the Panthers' best players. The punt is away, and Lewis is not going to get to it. And it keeps rolling for the Redbirds. Down at the 21-yard line.
Punt down near the 21-yard line.
And the field position battle continues in this first quarter.
Yeah, both teams kind of back in their own end zone there. See what
And
Washington can do on this drive.
we take this brief break to remind you that tonight's coverage is brought to you by Uftring Weston, Chevy Cadillac in Peoria. From the iconic Silverado and Blazer to the luxurious Cadillac XT4 and Escalade, Uftring Weston offers world-class sales and service right here in Peoria. Visit UfteringWeston.com today, and by Uftring Chevy in Washington. When you're shopping for a new Chevy in Central Illinois, visit the heart of Chevy country for selection, savings, and more for your trade. UfteringChevy.com. Panthers take over just past their own 20. And there's Drew Lewis on the end around, tried to make his way around a block. The block collapsed, and it costs him.
Drew Lewis, the ball carrier for Washington.
Eric Gilmore on the stop, but probably got to credit a little bit of that tackle to Lewis's Washington teammate. The block just didn't hold.
Yeah. You saw it earlier in the year, Larry, when we were at that Washington Dunlap game, how good Drew Lewis was in that game, kind of creating his own runs. But like you said, with this field condition, it's tough to get your footing, you know.
Oh, yeah. Another ball into the hands of Lewis, and he is not going anywhere. A huge tackle by Caleb Welsh.
Caleb Welsh
You see the emotion from the senior.
Really nice job there from Welsh getting right back. Didn't even have time to really corral it and look up. Just hit him right when he caught it.
2 consecutive plays for losses. Third and long, 3rd and 14. John, what are you dialing up here if you're Darryl Crouch?
They might try to go for a pass this time. We haven't seen much, but in that type of field position where you almost have to.
Panthers creeping closer to being pinned up against their own end zone. Play clock at 9. Williams. The option, and he's lit up. Metamora's defense stopping the Panthers dead in their tracks on that drive. It'll be a 4 and out after 3 straight plays of tackles for losses.
And on both sides so far, how good has this defense been, especially Metamora's really holding their ground, not allowing Williams to do much back there.
If you like defense, tell your friends to tune in. It's been a defensive battle so far, under 2 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Caleb Goff, back to punt for Washington. And Schwartz fields the punt and gets knocked out of bounds. Short of the 40. You saw 2 returners back deep for the Redbirds. Maybe they wanted to try and pull something off there, but either way, great starting field position after a punt kind of got popped up. That was Liam Knight on the punt, correction there.
6-yard punt return, sponsor ball at the 41.
And Willerton will come out under center.
Setting Metamora up with a really nice opportunity here. Just a little bit in front of midfield.
Willerton on the keeper, slips to the outside and dives forward. Short of the chains, but there's another nice first down pickup. And John, it seems like we've seen that every single Metamora drive so far.
Like the extra effort on the dive there,
yeah.
Getting the yards. Looked like he spotted him a little bit shorter than where he dove to, but.
Regardless, still second and short. Second of 3, perhaps. Willerton, this time on the end around to Poston. He gets to the corner, and he's pulled down from behind. Redbirds want a flag, and they will get it. Looking for the horse collar tackle. We'll see what the official call is. It will be a horse collar, John, and that will cost the Panthers. The Redbirds are on a march all of a sudden.
And Larry, you touched on that just a little bit ago. Penalties like that, could ultimately cost you a touchdown here. And Metamora's really got that momentum going. Did a good job of running this ball down here. See if they can keep it moving.
And they spot the ball on the 15-yard line. Favorable position for the Redbirds early on in this one. Best scoring chance that either team has had. Redbirds trying to strike first after 2 weeks off. The handoff to Poston. It's down near the 10-yard line. Had some daylight, but it collapsed quickly.
A lot of production right now to Poston Petrie, and it's almost comes to the point if they keep moving the ball, who's going to get the first touchdown here?
Poston scored a touchdown in the Redbirds' last game against Dunlap. Similar yardage situation, so we'll see if they go to him again. He's explosive in the open field. We haven't seen him much, but you can tell they're trying to get it to him in that open field on those end arounds. 2nd and 8. Petrie didn't get anywhere.
Ethan Petrie, the ball carrier.
It certainly doesn't look like they missed 2 weeks straight. Yeah,
no.
I mean, they've definitely getting out here and running it early. Defense looks good.
And that's how the first quarter will end. A defensive battle early on in this rivalry matchup. Redbirds knocking on the door, though. And we take this quarter break as we flip fields to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by the United States Army. Want to make a big difference? Consider joining the U.S. Army. Your training can amplify your efforts all over the world. Plus, you'll receive competitive pay and incredible benefits. Learn more by calling the Peoria Army Recruiting Station at 309-689-0071 or text AVKQ to GO Army. and by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. And as we flip the field here, John, you got to feel like this quarter break couldn't have come at a better time for Washington as it kind of slows down the Redbirds' momentum.
Yeah, it does. Washington, I think, definitely needed that right there, chance to regroup and reset that defense, but Metamora had all the momentum on that drive, say with Poston and Petrie just kind of hitting every hole.
Oh, yeah. That front five already playing a big impact. We talked about them in the pregame.
3rd down and 8.
Andrew Polhemus on that left guard side. Willerton back to pass, lofts it over the middle. Touchdown, Redbirds.
Touchdown, Metamora.
TJ Rising sneaks into the end zone. And a beautiful ball from Willerton puts the Redbirds up by 6.
TJ Rising.
Run, run, run. Surprise, our first touchdown's a pass.
That's something that Darryl Crouch touched on is, okay, they run the ball, but the linebackers can't sell out. And they tricked him just enough there and resulted in 6 points. Extra point pending. That'll be an offsides call on Washington beforehand.
Flag on the play.
How about the Redbirds? You mentioned it a few minutes ago, John. It doesn't look like they've missed 2 weeks.
No, not at all. And just on that last touchdown, Willerton, perfect placement on that ball. The chance to float it right over the top. Couldn't have threw that ball any better.
Once we get there, it'll be Hunter Rodell on the kick and Peyton McDonald to hold. Hunter Rodell, fun fact, the kicker for the Redbirds at one point this season was playing 3 sports at once. Not just the 3-sport athlete, but 3 sports at once. He punches it wide left of the upright, and it remains 6-0. But he's playing soccer, kicking for the football team, and running track all at once. Now that's impressive.
And going to school.
Yeah, not to mention.
Busy schedule.
Certainly is. Redbirds up early on here. Got to figure that gives them so much positive momentum on that sideline. And, you know, those players in a shortened season, 6 games, you already don't get that many games. But after taking 2 weeks off, I'm sure they're chomping at the bit to get out there.
Oh, yeah. And it, you know, it's a long game. Obviously, we might see more than 1 touchdown, you know, depending on how this game goes. But it's always nice, like you said, being off 2 weeks to come out here and make that statement early, get that first touchdown. Definitely helps add to that confidence level. And like we talked about, surely does not look like they missed a 2-week stretch here.
Now we will see how the Panthers respond.
Metamora scoring drive, 41 yards on 5 plays.
There you see 45 yards on 5 plays.
Rising.
It'll be Rodell to send it deep. Drew Lewis, one of the returners back there. They send it short. Fielded on the hop by Borges, and Borges fights forward, falls just short of the 40. A nice return for the Panthers junior.
Definitely the return that Washington needed right there.
30 yards on the return.
So now Washington playing from behind, something they have not done often this season. John, the last time we saw them was that great Week 2 battle with Dunlap when they ended up coming back. They were down a touchdown, if I recall correctly, scored the final 2 touchdowns of the game. But since then, they really have not played many close games.
Yeah, after that was a game they pretty much played from behind the whole game up until that 4th quarter. But like you said, after that game, they really showed their dominance. And going through that schedule, a couple games that were more on the lopsided end. But now tonight, I think it's a chance for Washington to say, well, hey, if we want to close out this perfect season, we got a tough team in front of us.
Of course.
8-yard gain, 2nd and 2.
Always a Good ball club in Metamora, great tradition. Panthers with their hands full tonight after really routing the rest of the Mid-Illini, 5-0 entering this one. Went over Limestone week 1, Dunlap win week 2, went over Morton week 3, went over Pekin week 4, and Canton last week. The run goes up the gut. And Thomas Borges moves the chains for the Panthers. So Borges, a nice start to the second quarter.
Caden Desjardins on the tackle.
Sure,
Now
Washington. Go ahead.
Now you see Washington starting to rely more on that run, something that we saw from Metamora. Kind of lulling that defense to sleep a little bit. That's an approach that maybe the Redbirds were really trying to take, and it worked. Williams, the quick snap. Borges to the outside, to the 40. One man to beat, to the 10. Dives for the pylon. We're tied. Touchdown, Thomas Borges.
Thomas Borges on the carry.
Got right around that right-hand side, and nothing but daylight for him.
Had to beat one man. It was Solomon Schwartz. He was flying in from across the field. I was watching him as Borges was flying up the sideline. Looked like he might get there at the same time, but Borges just too quick. And he sneaks into the end zone, and just like that, we're tied up. And what do you know, John? We got more than one touchdown. Paul Spohr sends it through the uprights, and that one is good. And the Panthers go out in front by an extra point.
We're at 7-6 Washington.
Larry, I was almost going to say before that drive, I'm sure Washington would want to get a score on that drive to get some momentum back, and certainly worked out for him on that run.
Absolutely did, and the momentum swings back. It's like a pendulum in these games. You can't live and die with every single play. I'm sure that's one thing that these coaches preach. Darryl Crouch building a great tradition at Washington. We take this break to remind you that tonight's coverage is brought to you by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington. Call 309-444-4441 for all your insurance needs. It's Jake Weston State Farm, and by Uftring Weston Chevy Cadillac in Peoria. From the iconic Silverado and Blazer to the luxurious Cadillac XT4 and Escalade, Uftring Weston offers world-class sales and service right here in Peoria. Visit UfteringWeston.com, and by Uftring Chevrolet in Washington. When you're shopping for a new Chevy in Central Illinois, visit the heart of Chevy country for selection, savings, and more for your trade. UfteringChevy.com. We thank all of our great sponsors for their support through basketball season and this shortened football season. Couldn't do it without them. Now Washington's defense will have to answer, playing with the lead. Kind of where they're used to playing from, as we were talking about a few minutes ago. The boot goes deep. Fielded and bounced to the outside. It's Welsh. Caleb Welsh, the senior, with the big return, bumped out just short of midfield. We saw him with the big tackle earlier, and now he makes something happen with the football in his hands.
Really nice return right there. Get him good field position. Transfer Metamora to see if they keep attacking the ball on the ground there with Poston and Petrie.
It'll be 1st and 10, Metamora.
You see Willerton out of the gun. There's the jet sweep. And Poston is tripped up. Gets into Washington territory, though. It'll be 2nd and 5.
Poston does such a good job around the outside right there.
Willerton out of the gun again. So Metamora on the first few drives going under center. Now Willerton taking the snaps from a few yards deeper, and looks like he lost the football after he was tackled, and very awkward tackle there, John. That did not look good. Good to see Willerton moving around a little bit, but he is definitely in some pain. after a gain of 1 or 2, but you saw that quarterback keeper, some daylight, but then that linebacker core for Washington got right there. But obviously thinking of Willerton right now, you see one of his teammates carrying his helmet away to the sideline. Not something you want to see. Hoping Willerton can come back into the ball game at some point. He's helped to his feet. He's going to have to be helped off the field.
Obviously hope he's all right. Limping a little bit, but
not entirely sure, where he got hurt, but obviously just an awkward landing, and it'll be Solomon Schwartz to come in and play quarterback. John, that's a name that we talked about a lot last year with the Redbirds. Schwartz stepped up and ended up starting a few games for the Redbirds. We say last year, but last season, in fall 2019, Schwartz stepped in as a sophomore, so he's got good experience under center. Redbirds probably won't lose a whole lot, but you never want your starting QB to go down.
We'll see if they have to make an adjustment, obviously, things like that.
Third and short, high snap, good screen pass to Poston, spins through a tackle, and that'll move the chains. More yards after contact for Poston.
Obviously not missing a beat right there on that first play. Nice pass. Poston's that go-to guy, getting some extra yardage, getting the first down.
And a great recovery by Schwartz after that very high snap, almost lost it. Carson Irvin, the center for the Redbirds. Schwartz in the backfield with 2 halfbacks, and now they switch around. There's the carry for Poston. Little stiff arm up the sideline, tiptoeing along, and he's pushed out. He won't be marked down around there. Spot will go back near the 30 or so, but still another productive run for Poston. Second and short forthcoming.
Washington just really doesn't have too much of an answer for Poston right now, just really eating up yardage on the ground.
It's tough because if you expect that run to the outside, then the Redbirds can go back inside with Petrie. Petrie to the left of Schwartz. A goal in motion. There is Petrie. Got some blockers to the outside. Bowls over 2 Panthers before he's bumped out of bounds. Little talking going on the sideline there, John. Both teams playing with a lot of energy.
And if Washington, Metamora, anytime these two teams meet, it's going to be a little chippy out here.
Oh,
That's what you would expect.
Would be surprised if it wasn't.
On the play, moves the chain, the Metamora first down.
First down for Metamora. They creep closer to the red zone. Their first trip to the red zone, they scored. I was back right at the start of the second quarter. TJ Rising touchdown reception. Schwartz the fake, and the handoff goes to Petrie. Doesn't look like he got anywhere. Malinowski on the tackle. Second and 10.
Met him right at the line on that one.
Some substitutions for the Redbirds. Play clock not of issue. This is one thing you see a lot of, John, with the Redbirds. They're going to switch out a lot of personnel. We see them running the gun these last few plays, and now they're going to go with the heavy set. Schwartz in for the injured Connor Willerton. And the give to the outside. Garrett Taylor with the big run there. That's the first time we've called his name tonight. Backup running back can come in and provide a spark. Gain of 12 for Taylor. And the Redbirds are in the red zone.
Taking a little bit of the workload off Poston and Petrie right there and giving them a breather. And player that we haven't called his number, but nice gain right there. Driving Metamora just that much closer.
Petrie is back in the game, directly behind Schwartz. This time Schwartz will keep it, bounces it to the outside. Looks like he got a gain of about 3. Jack Lemus was there ready to hit him if he decided to stay in.
Schwartz really good on the ground as well, so not only can he pass, but he could create his own run. Something that Metamora is going to need with Willerton being sidelined right now.
And John, I want to go back to something that we talked about pregame is the defensive ends for Washington. They got to do a better job of containing those outside runs against the Redbirds. And we get a timeout from Washington. And before we break it down for you, we take this break to remind you that tonight's presentation of CSM is brought to you by the Army. Redefine your skills, inspire change, and make a difference with a career in the U.S. Army. Join us and be a part of something bigger than yourself. To find out more, call the Peoria Army Recruiting Station at 309-689-0. Working through some technical difficulties on Clutch Sports Media. Thanks for sticking with us. And good news is you haven't missed anything. The score remains the same. Panthers 7, Redbirds 6. You've missed perhaps a few changes in possession. The Redbirds were getting down near the red zone, getting down near the end zone again, could not score. And Panthers forced a turnover, got the football back, and then punted. And that's where we stand right now. Redbirds driving again, trying to put something together before the end of the first half.
Yeah, Jack Lemus for Washington recovered the ball there. Metamora turned it over on about the 10-yard line.
Larry Larson, John Camosa in with you. Joey Wright at the controls. Doing our best to work through some technical difficulties, and really appreciate you watching with us. The handoff goes to Zach Poston to the outside, and a big tackle for Washington, and that's a big tackle for a loss. Third and medium coming up, and you got to figure this is going to be one of the biggest plays of the first half as the clock starts to wind down. Washington will get the second half kickoff, John. They won the toss and they deferred. Solomon Schwartz in at quarterback for Metamora. Connor Willerton left the game with an injury midway through the second quarter.
Larry, right before our broadcast cut out, you touched on that. Washington's defensive ends need to get out there a little bit better, and I think after that timeout, certainly met Poston right there on that tackle.
Schwartz on the keeper, weaving through traffic, and he's going to be close to the sticks. That sets up fourth and very short. Fourth and inches, but that might get measured, and now the official moves the spot back. So it'll be 4th and 1 if that. As the clock continues to wind, you got to figure the Redbirds want to take as much time off the clock as possible so they don't have to give the ball back to Washington if they can't help it.
And if they can get this first down here, a chance to slowly melt some clock down, a chance to score before halftime.
Play clock at 3. The give in the backfield to Petrie, and he bowls over the first down line. And the Redbirds move the chains on 4th down, their second 4th down conversion of the evening. And that'll keep the clock running as soon as the chains get set. About a minute and a half left in this first half. It's Redbirds 6, Panthers 7. Both teams scoring touchdowns in the second quarter. It's a TJ Rising touchdown reception for the Redbirds and a Borges touchdown run for the Panthers. Schwartz was in trouble, and he just had to throw it away. Redbirds looking for the flag, and they might have a case, John. Bagol was knocked down to the ground when Schwartz tried to find him with the pass.
They're not going to get a flag here.
.108 remaining in the first half. Schwartz will go out of the backfield now in the gun. Petrie there with him. He's going to look to pass. Steps up, looking downfield, and it's incomplete. In the vicinity of Braden Smith's, Drew Lewis was on the coverage for the Panthers.
Kind of a jump pass there, he saw.
Yeah, really impressive, honestly. Off his back foot a little bit. Now it's 3rd and 10. With this Redbirds offense so accustomed to running, you got to figure they're probably going to have to dial up another pass here.
Mm-hmm.
Or they may run the ball. Try and run out that clock before the half. Schwartz. The end around to Poston, and he is bowling over men and gets to the 35-yard line. Clock below a minute now. Redbirds in no rush. 4th and about 4 coming up. Redbirds bring in some new personnel. They might just take a shot to the end zone. Play clock at about 30.
Yeah, you got to keep in the back of your mind here. Only 30 seconds on the game clock.
Schwartz out of the gun. Bagol, screen pass over the middle, slips through a defender, stays on his feet, past the chains. Stops the clock at 21 seconds. Redbirds need to hurry. So like Bagol might be injured. And now they get an injury timeout. Timeout taken by Metamora. Either way, Bagol finds himself to the sideline, and Washington will head to their sideline. And we take this break to remind you that tonight's coverage is brought to you by Jake from State Farm in Washington. It's Jake Weston. Call 309-444-4441 for all your insurance needs. It's Jake Weston State Farm. And by Uftring Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Weston Chevy Cadillac in Peoria. From the iconic Silverado and Blazer to the luxurious Cadillac XT4 and Escalade, Uftring Weston offers world-class sales and service right here in Peoria. Visit UfteringWeston.com today. 21 seconds remain in the half. Redbirds trying to make something happen. Washington undefeated on the season, 5-0. Metamora coming off a 2-week COVID pause, trying to spoil the Panthers' party. Schwartz over the middle, and it's picked off. Picked off at the line of scrimmage by Cade Beadshine. A fantastic interception, a heads-up play by the linebacker for the Panthers, diving to stop the Redbirds' drive in its tracks.
That was a crucial stop there for Washington. Chance to just run the clock out here and go to halftime.
Looked like the Redbirds were trying for another screen maybe, John. They saw success with that with Bagol over the middle, and now it looks like the Panthers are just going to knee this one out. and send it to halftime, and that is what they will do. Nick Williams and company head to the locker room up by an extra point. 2 touchdowns in the first half, a TJ Rising touchdown reception with 11:55 remaining in the second quarter, and a Thomas Borges touchdown run of about 20 yards at the 10:20 mark, and an extra point have us where we're at now as both teams head to the locker room in an intense rivalry matchup. Before we break it down for you, another break to remind you that tonight's coverage is brought to you by the United States Army, with more than 150 career paths to explore, plus comprehensive benefits to help you along the way. The U.S. Army has what it takes. To find out more, call the Peoria Army Recruiting Station at 309-689-0071 or text AVKQ to GO Army. And by Jake from State Farm in Washington. Call Jake Weston for all your insurance needs, 309-444-4441. Jake from State Farm. And by Uftring Pekin, Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Weston Chevy Cadillac in Peoria. From the iconic Silverado and Blazer to the luxurious Cadillac XT4 and Escalade, Uftring Weston offers world-class sales and service right here in Peoria. Visit UfteringWeston.com today. And by Uftring Chevrolet in Washington. When you're shopping for a new Chevy in Central Illinois, visit the heart of Chevy country for selection, savings, and more for your trade. UfteringChevy.com. Clutch Sports Media coming to you from Malone Field. Thanks for sticking with us through some technical difficulties in the first half. Good news, didn't miss any scores, didn't miss any touchdowns, just one turnover as the Redbirds were heading towards the end zone, and we saw something similar there to end the half, John.
Yeah, certainly did, and threw in a coverage a little bit there and a turnover. But we talked about battle in the trenches, defensive battle. Certainly saw that in the first half, and if it's any indication how the second half plays out, it's going to be that low-scoring game we talked about.
Anytime these two teams get together, you know it's going to be some good football. And, you know, briefly before we go to break, I want to mention that Washington has won 3 games in a row against these Redbirds, including last year where they really dominated, and that's pretty uncharacteristic of this rivalry.
Certainly is, because usually it goes back and forth, but Washington's kind of showed their dominance. Chance for Metamora to kind of break that streak right now.
And in a year without playoffs, of course, you know, we talk about great traditions. Redbirds, of course, with great success in the 70s, 80s, 90s in the state playoffs, and, of course, more recently in the 2010s. In Washington, if you count this year, they probably would have made the playoffs again. Would have been 14 straight seasons in playoff, or receiving a playoff bid. So that's where we will leave it for now. As we take a brief break for halftime, it's Washington 7, Redbirds 6 on ClutchSportsIL.com. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to Malone Field in Metamora, Washington. On top of the Redbirds 7-6. Panthers looking to finish off an undefeated 6-week season and take the Mid-Illini Conference title outright. While the Redbirds haven't played in 2 weeks, they've played well tonight. We'll get to that in a minute, but first we want to take this break to remind you that tonight's coverage is brought to you by the United States Army. Redefine your skills, inspire change, and make a difference with a career in the U.S. Army. Join us and be a part of something bigger than yourself. To find out more, call the Peoria Army Recruiting Station at 309-689-0071 or text AVKQ to GO Army. And by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington. For all your insurance needs, call 309-444-4441. It's Jake from State Farm in Washington. And by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Chevrolet in Washington. When you're shopping for a new Chevy in Central Illinois, visit the heart of Chevy country for selection, savings, and more for your trade. UfteringChevy.com. And by Uftring Weston Chevy Cadillac in Peoria. From the iconic Silverado and Blazer to the luxurious Cadillac XT4 and Escalade, Uftring Weston offers world-class sales and service right here in Peoria. Visit UfteringWeston.com today. And John, you know, we look at the first half and we talked defense in the first quarter, and that defense really remained strong going into the second quarter. Of course, just one touchdown for each side. For the Redbirds, they struck first with 11:55 remaining in the second quarter. TJ Rising caught a pass in the end zone from Connor Willerton. Shortly thereafter, Willerton was knocked out of the game, so Solomon Schwartz in the ball game at QB for the Redbirds. And Washington picked up its touchdown with a Thomas Borges touchdown run with 10:20 remaining in the second quarter. So both teams have put together some good drives, but the last two drives for Metamora, they creeped close to the end zone, but then two key turnovers.
Yeah, we talked about that. You know, those turnovers are crucial in a game like this that we knew would be close coming in. You know, Petrie and Poston doing a really nice job of getting him right there to the doorstep, but ultimately, you know, an errant pass turnover led to Washington controlling the end of that first half. And he talked about if it's anything like the first half, expect a defensive battle. We'll see how it plays out.
Absolutely. And, you know, John, just to kind of revisit our keys to the game, which we talked about before kickoff for Metamora, we talked about have fun. You know, you haven't played in 2 weeks, but also contain the run for Washington and win the trenches. You can probably say that the Redbirds have won the trenches, especially on the outside when you consider Washington's key to the game for those defensive ends.
Yeah, I'm sure Washington almost felt like they kind of caught a break on that errant pass where they had a turnover, because it seemed like Metamora was just kind of running at will right there, and probably a nice relief for them to get the ball back after it seemed like Metamora was just kind of running at will there close to the 10-yard line. But see how both teams kind of, you know, work on adjustments here at halftime. I'm sure Washington wants to fix their defensive ends a little bit, like you said, and limit Poston and Petrie from kind of going wherever they want. And obviously Metamora would probably want to work on getting a quick score here.
Both teams going run heavy on an evening that started with a lot of rain, and since it has cleared up, it's a beautiful night for football. Beautiful Friday night for the last week of the IHSA football season. No playoffs, so this is about as good as it gets for a season with no playoffs, John Camosa.
Certainly is, and I mean, you know, despite the playoffs, what a way to end the season against your rival. A chance to really grab onto that bragging rights, you know, to end your, say for the seniors, to end your senior year. And it's a fun game to end our season.
Oh, it absolutely is. And we thank you for joining us on Clutch Sports IL tonight. Second half about to get underway. Washington deferred the toss back in the first half, so they will start the second half with the football. It's sent deep to the left side. And a nice return is ruined by perhaps a wet field. Thomas Borges tried to make something happen there, and all of a sudden his feet weren't underneath him.
Yeah, grass still going to be a little bit slick right now, even though the rain has passed. But you got enough rainfall down on there that grass is a little slick, and we saw that play a factor right there.
Of course, nice natural grass here at Malone Field as you get a look at a T-Rex at the bottom of the Redbird student section, a full student section tonight here at Metamora Township High School. Good to see students out supporting students. No shortage of school spirit. It'll be Nick Williams to lead the offense for Washington, the senior quarterback, with a quick give to Thomas Borges. Borges fighting, and he's going to get brought down right around the line of scrimmage. Short gain, if any. Maybe he got a gain of 1 or 2. Looks like he picked up 2 with the forward progress.
Looked like he was going to slip around the outside there, but then met by Polimas. Talked about him, committed to Ole Miss, and not a player you want to run into often.
Yes, Andrew Polimas. He's going to play offensive line, preferred walk-on at Ole Miss. Playing both sides of the ball in his final year at Metamora. Transferred here from Limestone his sophomore year. Another give up the middle results in a little bit bigger of a gain. Borges again on the carry. Excuse me, that's Jack Lemus. So Lemus gets a carry, one of the starting running backs for this Washington squad. And now it'll be 3rd and short. 3rd and 3 to be exact.
See if Washington keeps it on the ground here.
Trace Bullard at the bottom of your screen. Quick give to the fullback, and he is not going anywhere. Beadshide on the carry there. Now flag flies. Might be a personal foul, and it will be against Washington. Metamora crowd likes it. John, it goes back to that rivalry. We talk about how it's going to get chippy, but you got to be careful to control your emotions.
Oh, certainly in a game like this, Washington only leading by an extra point. It's a game where you want little mistakes to affect your team.
That personal foul sends the Panthers backwards before the punt.
Personal foul.
15 yards to be exact. Now the Redbirds will likely have a short field. Last time they had a short field, John, they ended up scoring a touchdown back at the start of the second quarter. It'll be Liam Knight to send it away. Zach Poston and Solomon Schwartz back deep to return. High punt. Not going to get to the returners, and it takes a Washington bounce. Tumbles across the 50-yard line. Schwartz figured he'd go in there and maybe toy with the Washington defenders, but nothing comes of it. All things considered, a nice boot.
Almost looked like he was going to run over there and snag it.
Yeah, would have been dangerous. I'm sure his coaches probably wouldn't be very happy about that one. We take this brief break to remind you that tonight's coverage is brought to you by Uftring Chevy Cadillac in Peoria. From the iconic Silverado and Blazer to the luxurious Cadillac XT4 and Escalade, Uftring Weston covers offers world-class sales and service right here in Peoria. UfteringWeston.com. Now Schwartz out of the shotgun formation to start the drive for the Redbirds. Handoff goes to Petrie. Up the gut, that's Poston, excuse me. And he gets across midfield into Washington territory.
Almost psych you out a little bit. Starts in the shotgun, then just a quick handoff. We've seen that a couple times tonight.
Anytime you got those two dynamic threats in the backfield, just makes it so tough. A lot of good options for the Redbirds, or the quarterback could keep it. Schwartz has good wheels. The junior takes his time, and this time the give is to Petrie. And he didn't get much of anywhere. Picked up 1. Tim Malinowski on the great tackle for Washington, part of that very strong linebacking core. It's really been the key to this great Washington defense, which has surrendered just 9.5 points per game this season. So impressive. And they've certainly held tough tonight against a good Metamora team.
You know, we've talked about Washington, a couple of their wins being more on the lopsided end, but in that close win over Dunlap, kind of the same type of feel right now where they were holding on to that short lead late.
Panthers wrap up Poston in the backfield.
Poston on the carry, wrapped up by
And so many times we've seen that play have success tonight, John, but not that time. Poston wrapped up from the start.
Looks like Washington's defense made a little bit of adjustment here in the second half, and meeting Poston and Petrie at the line there, not allowing them to get those extra yards that they were getting in the first half.
Back deep to return is Drew Lewis. Panthers sent out the punt team. It's a spiraling punt. Lewis muffed it. The ball is loose, and the Panthers recover. Braden Schmitz on the recovery as Lewis muffs it, a rare mistake from the junior, and now the Panthers are knocking on the door.
We talked about that so many times tonight, those little things, penalties, and then turning the ball over right there. Right there on that play, maybe should have opted a fair catch.
First and 10, Metamora.
First and 10 from the 13 now. Schwartz reverses course. That's a Redbirds touchdown. Solomon Schwartz does a quick U-turn. Put up 6 more on the board for Metamora as they regain the lead.
Turnover leads to a score, a quick score for Metamora. Regain the lead.
Touchdown run by quarterback Solomon Schwartz.
It's not often you see that. Sometimes you'll see that in the NFL. A player will reverse direction in the middle of a play, and a lot of the time it doesn't work out, but works out for Schwartz there. A little creativity gets the Redbirds back in the driver's seat, and now they're going to go for 2. Schwartz out of the shotgun. Petrie beside him. Poston in motion. Schwartz the keeper. Slips through a tackle, and he's in. Flag down. We'll see what the call is. Legal shift on the Redbirds. So this one will come back. And Metamora will have to do it again.
See if they elect to go to Schwartz again.
Probably not. You know, you got to figure you got to mix it up. And I like that play call, sticking with the hot hand on the 2-point conversion, but now it's going to be a little tougher.
Might get a throw out of him.
We have seen Schwartz wind up and throw it deep a few times tonight. More often than not, though, the Redbirds have stuck on the ground. There's the screen pass to Poston. Slips a tackler, reaches for the end zone, and the 2-pointer is good. Move back 5 yards, no problem. And the Redbirds are up by a full 7 points.
Had to go a couple extra yards for that one, but Poston's been so consistent tonight with his runs, and nice job of shaking the defender there and getting that one in with a dive.
Poston with the reach, and the Redbirds with the 7-point lead. And now if you're Washington, they have not scored since the early goings of the second quarter. Got to come out and respond because this crowd's fired up.
Certainly are. They got every right to be getting that momentum back, getting the lead.
52-yard drive, a quick one for the Redbirds. If you count that muffed punt, Drew Lewis gave the Redbirds new life after he touched the football, couldn't get it back. Great recovery from Braden Schmitz. And results in 7 points. Offsides for Metamora. This one will be whistled dead, and we'll do it again. Not every day you see offsides on a kickoff.
No, not all the time.
So now Washington will have the chance to move up a few yards.
On a kickoff, Metamora will retry from the 35-yard line.
And another kick for Hunter Rodell. Senior, three-sport athlete. And a kicking roll for the Redbirds, and this one is popped up to the sideline and fielded by Isaac Mapson, and he is pulled down and ripped out of bounds. Tried to make something out of nothing there, and he got hit.
And not a whole lot going on there. By the time he caught it, met by a defender. And see what Washington has planned out in their offensive drive.
Short field for the Panthers, relatively short field as they take over at about the 35-yard line, 34 to be exact. And the senior quarterback, Nick Williams, leads the team onto the field, and he'll come out under center. Cade Beachside behind him. Williams on the keeper, looking to get outside, gets around the corner, has blockers, races past the 50, and he's brought down short of the 45. That's how you want to start the drive if you're the Panthers.
And you leave it to your senior quarterback to get something started for you, and doing a nice job of getting around that corner and picking up those extra yards.
Jared Grebner told me that, watching Nick Williams, he pointed out a specific play from that Dunlap game that you'll remember when he got out wide to score the game-winning touchdown. And he put on a spin move, spun right around a Dunlap defender. It really showcases Nick Williams' talent. He can also throw it. Panthers have some good receiving threats, but again, they've been mainly ground and pound tonight, both teams sticking on the ground. 2nd and 7 coming up.
And we saw that in that Dunlap game. They relied on Williams quite a bit. See if got that same type of feel tonight.
Williams under center. They give to Borges. He falls forward. Nice pickup there. 3rd and short coming up.
Thomas Borges on the carry.
These are the plays that are really going to decide this game, John, because we've seen them a lot. We saw them a lot throughout the first half and in the early goings of the second half here. 3rd and manageable, 4th and short. And it comes down to that battle in the trenches.
Oh, it certainly does.
Williams has the play call. Washington looking for a response after the Redbirds scored on a Solomon Schwartz touchdown run to start the half. Jacob Beam in motion. The handoff to Borges, bounces off contact, through more contact, and this time he is wrapped up and tossed down to the ground. Flag is down, though.
Garrett Taylor on the stop for Metamora.
Let's see what the call is. It's a big one. Legal formation on Washington. That's a big call, and it goes back to the head coach is telling us, John, you can't make mistakes against good teams. Now the Panthers will have to deal with 3rd and a little bit longer, 5-yard penalty.
Yeah, it's those little mistakes that could come back to bite you late in the game. And like you said, now Washington can go a little bit further on this one to try to pick up a 1st down.
Williams in the backfield with Borges. Williams is going to throw out wide, hooks up with Brock Pollitt. He's going to be close to the sticks, but now it's going to be 4th and about 1. Great play there. Pollitt was ready for it, turned around, made the catch, tried to fight through contact, and that'll move the chains. So a great 3rd down play for the Panthers. One of the first true pass plays that we've seen from them all night.
But he definitely has that in his arsenal. We haven't seen it a whole lot, but we know he's capable of hitting his receivers right on target.
Williams can share the wealth as well. Certainly probably has his favorite targets, but Brock Pollitt last week had a huge game, coming up with at least 3 big catches. Fake jet sweep to Lewis. Williams up the middle. Another nice gainer on first down. Gain of 3. Eric Gilmore, the linebacker, with the tackle. Washington continues its slow and methodical drive. It's been a trend that we have seen all night from both sides. Both teams holding onto the ball for a long time. The clock has been running in this one pretty much the whole game. Williams. The fake to Lewis. He's going to air it out long, looking for Bullard, and he hauls it in. A diving grab by Trace Bullard at the 5-yard line.
Tough defender to get around, and Solomon Schwartz just gets the extra step on him. Lays out for a nice catch.
Washington down to the 5-yard line. What a play call. The fake screen. That really opened up Bullard down the field. Beat his man.
We just talked about Nick Williams' passing abilities, and he shows it off right there. A chance to try to punch one in.
And this time Williams, can he do it himself? Yes, he can.
Something we've seen so much this season with him, running it himself.
And the Panthers will have a chance to tie this one up with the extra point. What a drive for Washington, responding to Metamora's touchdown drive. Paul Sporer getting set for the place kick. The hold, and he drives it through and then some. Tied up at 14. What a ball game it's been. Thanks for joining us on CSM. I want to take this break to remind you that tonight's coverage is brought to you by the United States Army. Want to make a big difference? Consider joining the U.S. Army. Your training can amplify your efforts all around the world. Plus, you'll receive competitive pay, incredible benefits. Learn more by calling the Peoria Army Recruiting Station at 309-689-0071 or text AVKQ to GO Army. Coverage also brought to you by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington. Call 309-444-4441 for all your insurance needs. And by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. Thank all of our great sponsors for their support throughout the season. Final week of IHSA football season. Paul Sporer sends it deep. Fielded at the 20. The returner tries to get around the corner and cannot do so. Ethan Shoemaker, 5'8" senior, tried to make something happen. And the Redbirds will start from past their own 25. Now, John, we've talked a lot about the play styles of both these teams. They love to ground and pound. They love to run the ball. Washington mixed it up a little bit on that last drive. Do you think we see some of the same from Metamora?
Might be able to see that too, because we've already seen Schwartz throw a touchdown, and see if they want to go to the air a little bit as well.
They come out in the gun. Schwartz drops back, screen pass over the middle for Begol, and he is brought down at the 30. We saw that play work to perfection earlier, and looks like Begol is a little bit banged up. We saw that he got bumped around on the last time the Metamora Redbirds ran that play. And now we'll get an injury timeout. Probably a cramp. Looks like the trainer's going out there to stretch it out. 4:15 to remain in quarter number 3. Been a good one. Defense dominated the first half. Defense started to dominate the second half, but Washington putting together a great drive. Their last possession to tie it up at 14. Injury timeout. The goal still down on the field. Mid-Illini conference battle. Washington Metamora. Redbirds' first game in 2 weeks after they went on a COVID pause. Washington looking to finish an undefeated season, and if they can do so, they will claim the outright Mid-Illini Conference title. Just like they did in basketball, they won the regular season going undefeated and then won the tournament, really rolling through all of their opponents. And so it's been a banner year at Washington High School. And those are the teams you really feel bad for that there's no postseason.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly do. As Washington thought that was the type of team that could make a run in basketball, and same here with football, the resume they've put together. And it's just unfortunate this year, and hopefully we see that by fall. By the time that rolls around, get some postseason. It's obviously something every kid dreams of, getting there, winning a state championship. It's kind of the end goal, you know.
Of course, and all these kids playing for both these schools grew up watching, looking up to older players who got the chance to play at that stage. Out of the injury timeout, 2nd and 7. Solomon Schwartz out of the gun again. Fakes the handoff to Petrie, airing it out over the middle. Little contact, and the flag will fly. Pass interference will likely be called. Looked like Mason Geltz on the coverage. He didn't like the call, and from our perspective, John, looked like the two just bumped into each other. Yeah. Incidental contact, yep. No pushing or anything, but Redbirds get the call, and they will move up a good ways.
Going back to our previous conversation about Metamora switching up, it seemed like they're kind of meeting Washington where they were at, throwing the ball a little bit. I think they're going to both kind of play and complement each other's styles and kind of play off each other.
We've yet to see an official signal, and now we do. Pass interference on Washington, as we suspected. First down for the Redbirds. And there you see another mistake. Whether or not you agree with the call, you got to try and avoid those as we move into the late stages of this one. Schwartz out of the gun. Man in motion is rising. Handoff goes to Petrie. Cuts back over the middle. Spins down near the chains.
It's been such a strong back tonight. And it's another one just getting those extra yards. Credit to that offensive line really opening up those holes for both Petrie and Poston.
Redbirds keeping it moving. We've seen a few impressive drives from them tonight. Their last two drives in the first half, though, ended with turnovers. They struck first here in the second half after one of their drives stalled. They punted. Drew Lewis muffed it. Redbirds recovered near the 10-yard line, and they ended up punching it in. Schwartz wrapped up in the backfield. Malinowski there for the sack.
Quarterback sack brought down by Tim Malinowski for the Panthers.
Huge play there.
Loss on the play.
Tackle for a loss. We have not seen that a lot tonight, John.
No, we haven't. But we knew it was going to be a battle, and that defense is obviously going to want to step up a little bit.
Big play from the Washington linebacking core. Metamora has been so effective running the ball tonight, but not there. Schwartz will come out under center. Petrie behind him. Gives to Poston on the jet sweep. He goes up the gut. Gain of about 4. Gets the Redbirds back past the original line of scrimmage. Now it's 3rd and long. Big play coming up here.
3rd down and 10 coming up for Metamora.
Certainly see if they elect to go to the air again.
Personnel changes for the Redbirds. Dalton Schuda heads to the bench. The wide receiver on the bottom of your screen is Braden Schmitz. Schwartz stepping up, looking long over the middle, wide open. TJ Rising to the house. Redbirds back in front.
Couldn't get him any more open than that.
Somebody forgot their man, and Metamora makes them pay.
And they were so effective on the ground in that first half. Now that they're going to the pass a little bit as well, it's working just as good.
35-yard touchdown strike from Schwartz to Rising. Metamora takes the lead.
And John, I'm not even sure what happened with the Washington defense. No safeties in the area.
Missed an assignment for sure.
Yes. Rising's second touchdown of the night. First of the second half. Snap, the hold, and the kick is good.
Extra point good for Metamora.
Redbirds by 7 into the closing stages of the third quarter.
See if Washington can find any type of momentum right now.
We've got 7, 8, 9.
Metamora looking really dominant.
Third and final call. Hang on to your tickets. We might go to another number.
Really the longest pass that we've seen tonight, John. We've seen a few good ones, but that was a beauty. Well-designed play, lapse in the defense for Washington. Now they've got to come back again. Redbirds have really been in the driver's seat here in the second half, sending Washington to play chaser, so to speak.
Metamora scoring drive, 5 plays covering 73 yards.
And Larry, we'll see if Washington on this drive, if they do the same type of thing, elect to go to the air a little bit. Almost seems like something they might have to do.
Yeah. That's wild. The switch in offensive approaches has really worked for both sides. Short kick, fielded past the 30, and the returner is wrapped up for Washington. Caleb Goff fielded that one and picked up a few yards.
Braden Schmitz on the tackle for Metamora.
And we take a brief break before the drive to remind you that tonight's presentation is brought to you by Uftring Chevy in Washington. When you're shopping for a new Chevy in Central Illinois, visit the heart of Chevy country for selection, savings, and more for your trade. UfteringChevy.com. And by Uftring Weston Chevy Cadillac in Peoria. From the iconic Silverado and Blazer to the luxurious Cadillac XT4 and Escalade, Uftring Weston offers world-class sales and service right here in Peoria. Visit UfteringWeston.com today. Williams, the give up the middle on the first play of the drive. Borges, nice gain on first down.
Certainly was. See if Metamora's defense can really step up here and get that big stop.
Clock continues to run down. We'll likely head to the fourth quarter within the next minute or so here. Both these teams really continuing to wind the clock after we saw a brief switch to the big passing game for both sides on their last drives. Hand off up the middle to Borges. Looked like he had some space, and then the space closed up.
Wrapped up by Zach Poston.
Poston right there to meet him. Needless to say, if clock runs out here, it's going to be an exciting fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah. Always is between these two teams in a close game. Washington will run at least one more play, and a surprise pass to Trace Bullard will move the chains. Quick slant over the middle. Bullard was ready, and he fell backwards. Washington on the move again.
I think that's exactly what they needed right there to get a little bit of momentum back in their drive.
And that will end the third quarter. We head to the fourth quarter with the Redbirds up 21-14 thanks to 2 touchdowns by T.J. Rising. And we take this break between quarters to remind you that tonight's presentation of CSM is brought to you by the United States Army. With more than 150 career paths to explore, plus comprehensive benefits to help you along the way, the U.S. Army has what it takes. To find out more, call the Peoria Recruiting Station at 309-689-0071 or text a VKQ to GO Army. and by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington. Call 309-444-4441 for all your insurance needs. It's Jake Weston from State Farm. And by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Chevrolet in Washington. When you're shopping for a new Chevy in Central Illinois, visit the heart of Chevy country for selection, savings, and more for your trade. UfteringChevy.com. And Uftring Weston Chevy Cadillac in Peoria. From the iconic Silverado and Blazer to the luxurious Cadillac XT4 and Escalade, Uftring Weston offers world-class sales and service right here in Peoria. Visit UfteringWeston.com today. In the fourth, Washington into Metamora territory, and the give goes to Jack Lemus, and he doesn't get anywhere.
Jack Lemus on the carry.
Nice stop by the Metamora front three.
Cole Migna, Peyton McDonald.
McDonald in on the stop there. And Williams looks to the sideline for the call from Darryl Crouch.
Not a whole lot going on that last play.
Williams shifts into the shotgun. Beachside behind him. Right next to him, I should say. Williams. The pocket collapses, and he is sacked. Huge sack. Desjardins there to wrap him up. The senior brings down Nick Williams, and it's 3rd and long. A huge play for the Redbirds defense.
Metamora looks pretty fired up, too, after that big tackle from Desjardins.
Loss on the play brings up 3rd down 15.
You think the Redbirds faithful will be too. Panthers going with a quicker set here. The tight end Beam checks out of the game. Isaac Mapson, the receiver at the top of your screen. Trace Bullard at the bottom. Williams rolls left, looking over the middle, finds his man. It's Pollitt. Can he get to the chains? He's short.
Just a little short.
But another great play call, and Pollitt heads to the sideline, looks a little banged up, but John, the Panthers are right there on 4th down, 4th and short. That passing game continues to pay dividends.
See what they do here. Might go for a run.
Looks like they're staying with the same personnel. So not bringing in the heavy set.
4th and 1.
4th and 1. As you hear the thunder from the bleachers. Play clock at 15. Play clock under 10, and the Panthers will likely have to burn a timeout here, John. And they will. Just about 2 minutes into the 4th quarter before a huge 4th down play. We take this timeout to shout out our great sponsors. The United States Army. Want to make a big difference? Consider joining the U.S. Army. Your training can amplify your efforts all over the world. Plus, you'll receive competitive pay and incredible benefits. Learn more by calling the Peoria Army Recruiting Station at 309-689-0071 or text AVKQ to GO Army. And by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington. Easiest phone call or phone number to remember in the area for an insurance agent, possibly. Call 309-444-4441 for all your insurance needs. It's Jake from State Farm. There you get a look inside the Washington huddle. And John, with 4th and 1 coming up, we've seen a lot of success with the passing game, a little less success with the run game in the second half. What do you think the call is?
We'll see. Might have a run here. Kind of try to jam it right up the middle, but make or break right here, Larry. Don't want to give that momentum back to Metamora, but Metamora certainly wants to have that right back.
Give up the middle. Beachside gets past the sticks. They give to their fullback.
Cade Bescheid on the carry.
Bescheid, the junior, 6'2", 220. Just kept the legs moving just enough, and the drive stays alive for Washington.
Now that they got that first down out of the way, might see that pass come into effect here on this drive a little bit again. But certainly a game that we were anticipating and we're getting right now.
It has been a good one. Week 6 of the 6-week IHSA football season. Borges, that's Lemus, trying to get to the outside. Can't do so. Can't get away from that Metamora front. But still a healthy gain on first down. It hasn't always been pretty, but all things considered, the Washington runners have been able to be pretty productive, especially on first down, and that's paid dividends.
Certainly has.
Bescheid in the backfield, along with Lemus. Fake to Bescheid. Williams tries to slip through contact and picks up a short gain. Another big third down forthcoming.
On the tackle, Peyton McDonald, Garrett Taylor.
Washington moving closer to field goal territory. John, what are you going to say?
Like you said, not too many penalties in this game, but it just seems like this game's really flown by here, and the clock continues to tick for Washington.
It has been a quick one. Both teams predominantly playing on the ground, but a few touchdown passes have been thrown. Redbirds ahead on 2 TJ Rising touchdown receptions. Williams, nice quarterback keeper. And he's going to be short or close to the sticks, and that will move the chains.
Kind of hesitation fake there, got his defender to bite, and real close to that first.
Quarterback option play, so lethal for this Washington team, because you know Williams has great speed, but you can't forget about those other options in the backfield. Jack Lemus was there to throw a block. 1st and 10 from the Metamora 20. Beam in motion. Now Bullard in motion. Bescheid over the middle. Gets down to the 15.
Bescheid on the carry.
Continuing to grind it out on the ground.
Garrett Taylor on the stop for the Redbirds.
Taylor in on the tackle. And you get that slow and methodical rhythm once again. We'll see if Washington tries to mix it up at any point here. 2nd and 6. After the 4-yard pickup from Bescheid. Williams out of the eye again. This time they give to Lemus, and he doesn't get anywhere.
I think Metamora read that one pretty well, met him right there.
And what do you know? We get to 3rd down again.
Stop for a short gain. Jeff Schnitzer.
A pretty big one.
Yes, indeed. They get bigger and bigger as the Panthers continue to make their way downfield. Haven't seen a pass in a few plays from the Panthers. Looks like they're going with a little bit of a quicker set. Tim Malinowski comes into the game at tight end. And they give to Lemus. Up the gut again. That won't be enough to move the sticks. And now it's a big 4th down. Perhaps the biggest play of the game so far as we approach the 6-minute mark of the 4th quarter. Listen to these fans.
You can feel them underneath us.
Darryl Crouch getting the play call in as the scoreboard prompts the fans to make some noise. Metamora players signaling to the fans to get fired up. 4th and 1. Lemus. Did he get there?
Ball carrier Jack Lemus
He did not.
Just stopped him short. What a defensive stop for Metamora.
How about this Redbirds defensive unit? Solid all night long. Oh, so good. And that's the biggest play of the game, and it comes from the Metamora defensive line.
Metamora's offense has been so effective, so now it's really going to come down to Washington's defense to give their offense another chance.
Their unit that has really won them a lot of games this season, John. Of course, entering this one, allowing just an average of 9 points per game. Long field to drive for Metamora, but the clock is their friend. Handoff goes to Petrie. Healthy gain on first down, and at this point, that's all you got to do. Pick up a few yards every play, move the sticks, keep the clocks rolling. And now we have an injured Redbird.
Official timeout.
Probably another cramp, it looks like.
Cramp, yeah.
Teammate stretching him out. Member of the offensive line down for the Redbirds. Can't make out who it is.
Seen quite a few cramps tonight.
Oh, yeah. Coming down to the end of the season, a lot of these athletes are working double duty. There's our camera feed. Don't worry, not going anywhere. Went black for a minute. You know, of all the times for the camera to go out, this would probably be an ideal time. Thanks for joining us tonight on Clutch Sports Media, despite some, how shall we put it, technological challenges, adversity. We've done our best to figure it out. And the Redbirds have done their best so far to spoil Washington's undefeated season. Panthers entering this one at 5-0. With a win, they could clinch the outright Mid-Illini Conference title. The Redbirds have looked very, very good tonight after not. They would be tied atop the standings in terms of, you know, with Dunlap and Washington. Each of those teams would only have one loss. I'm not entirely sure what the conference will rule in terms of who gets to claim the conference championship, but there's a good chance that all those players, or all those teams, excuse me, would get a share of the title. Still in this injury timeout.
Chance for Washington to kind of talk it over with their defense, gives them a little extra time.
And it stops the Metamora energy and momentum coming off that fourth down stop deep in their own territory. You heard how loud the crowd was after that. And now they've quieted down a little bit. Good to see the Redbirds player up.
Ethan Petrie coming off the field for Metamora.
That's Petrie. That is not a player you want to see go down for Metamora. Obviously, you don't want to see anybody go down, but Petrie has been a huge part of their offense all night tonight. Help to the sideline, moving gingerly. So that's not a good sign. Good to see him up and moving around, though. 2nd and 8 coming up. Clock resumes running. And maybe I spoke too soon. Officials signaling some clock trouble. As you hear some fans scream, "The clock's running." And we've got word up there, reset the game clock to 5:21. 5:21, so the clock operator will do so right below us. Wouldn't be a high school football game without a little clock difficulty.
Setting the game clock to 5:21.
And now you hear some Redbirds fans chanting, the student section down below us. A lot of good energy at Malone Field tonight. Now the clock will run, and the Redbirds will get set to break the huddle.
Like you said, the clock's there front, a chance for them to keep running it down as much as they can.
Redbirds in a tight formation. Schwartz under center. Give on the jet sweep up the middle. Zach Poston almost busted a long one. Tripped up at the ankles. That may have been a game-saving tackle by Bieshide.
Could have all but sealed it there if he got around that tackle. We know how quick Poston is, and they miss a tackle there, he's gone.
Seen a few plays like that tonight. Poston, you blink and you miss him. He can take off. He's got that good explosive speed. Big third down for this Washington defensive unit. If they give up a first down here, probably not the end of the world, but there's only so many more opportunities that the Panthers have. Schwartz. They give to Poston. Green space in front of him. Gets to the corner, and this time he's not tripped up to the 50, and he's shoved out of bounds past midfield.
Huge run.
Zach Poston keeping this crowd lively and keeping the chains moving for the Redbirds.
And also, that'll certainly get your team fired up. Not only your team, but the fans. Now you got to really like the spot you're in, clock's your friend, and chance to keep running the ball.
Oh yeah, clock pauses for the chains to move. 1st and 10 from the Washington 45, and now you feel like it's do or die time for the Washington defense. The Redbirds put together more of a drive, and a touchdown would put it away. Metamora goes with the tight formation again. Handoff. That time it's Garrett Taylor. Good gain on first down. And again, that's all you need to do. Pick up 3-4 yards every play, and this game will be over. Redbirds looking to get a piece of the Mid-Illini Conference title. Spoil Washington's undefeated season. Darryl Crouch, Washington head coach, told us that's been our goal from the start. Go undefeated, go 6-0. That's all you can really shoot for in a season without a postseason. Redbirds doing a great job trying to ruin it. Schwartz in trouble in the backfield, brought down by Malinowski. That's a big response.
Nothing going there on that. It's going to be a crucial defensive stand here for Washington.
Another big third down. So many drives in this game have come down to third down. Defense is doing a great job in this one. 3rd and 8. As the clock continues to wind down. Approaching the 2.5-minute mark. Play clock at 20, and the Redbirds will likely use almost all of it. Eric Gilmore into the game, into the huddle, as is Skylar Hassinger. Schwartz out of the shotgun now. Play clock at 3. Takes the snap. Screen pass to Poston, and it's lit up. Lit up in the backfield, tackled for a loss. 4th down coming up. The officials shouting 2:09 on the clock. Somebody's shouting 2:09 on the clock. And a timeout is taken by Washington, as you would imagine. And before we get to this crucial 4th down, take this break to remind you of some of our sponsors. Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Chevrolet in Washington. When you're shopping for a new Chevy in Central Illinois, visit the heart of Chevy country for selection, savings, and more for your trade. UfteringChevy.com. And by Uftring Weston Chevy Cadillac in Peoria. From the iconic Silverado and Blazer to the luxurious Cadillac XT4 and Escalade, Uftring Weston offers world-class sales and service right here in Peoria. Visit UfteringWeston.com today. 4th down coming up for the Redbirds. 4th and long, and they will punt. Drew Lewis back to return. He muffed one earlier. The punt is blocked. Washington's on it. Special teams unit comes up with a clutch play, and it's a short field for the Panthers with under 2 minutes to go.
Ball at about the 40-yard line. Chance for Nick Williams and company to try to drive it down there and potentially tie this game, but what a defensive stand there for Washington.
My goodness. Didn't even get to Drew Lewis. The special teams unit doing a fantastic job. Panthers with 1 timeout, Redbirds with 3. Panthers need to drive and score to maintain a chance at a winning season, or an undefeated season, I should say, and an outright Mid-Illini Conference title. Nick Williams, senior quarterback, in his final game in the black and orange. The pitch to Drew Lewis. It's a trick play. Lewis in trouble. He's brought down. Ryan Begole was there for the stop.
They read that pretty well, got right back to him.
TJ Rising on the stop for Metamora.
It's going to push Washington back, and
Also 10 on the play.
the clock's the enemy right now for them.
TJ Rising was also there. How about his game? 2 touchdowns for Rising.
Couldn't ask for a better rivalry game to close this season out.
Panthers need to make something happen. Williams over the middle, had Lewis, and it slipped underneath him. 3rd and 20, 1:14 to go. He was covered like a blanket. Listen to this crowd. It's been so good all night, but especially in this 4th quarter. 1:14 to go.
For the Panthers.
Play clock at 6 now. Washington can't afford to burn a timeout. Williams out of the pocket. Needs to make something happen. Hit as he throws, and it's picked off. Picked off by Zach Poston, and that will seal it. The Redbirds upset undefeated Washington.
Tough way for Nick Williams to go out in Washington's undefeated season, but what a game for Metamora. Chance to take that 2-week pause and come out here and really make a statement.
What a statement indeed. Barring a meltdown in the final 1 minute and 5 seconds, the Redbirds upset rival Washington to finish the spring season. My goodness, what a game it's been. Solomon Schwartz, the backup quarterback, came on in relief of an injured Connor Willerton in the 2nd quarter, done a phenomenal job leading his team to victory against a stout Panthers defense. Victory formation for the Redbirds.
Metamora takes a knee under a minute left.
You hear these fans, great atmosphere.
Students are fired up, parents. What a way to end your season.
As the Washington fans on the other end of the bleachers start to file out. Suarez takes another knee, and that will do it. Or pretty close. Might have to take one more snap.
I don't think
and
so. I
that
think
will
one's
be
gonna
it.
do it.
And we'll let the crowd do the talking here for the next few seconds.
Final score, Metamora 21.
That's it.
Panthers 14.
The Redbirds end Washington's undefeated season in the final week of spring football. Final score, Metamora 21, Washington 14. John, we said it so many times throughout the game, what a way to finish the season.
Yeah, it certainly was. And what a dominant performance from Poston and Solomon Schwartz to come in there at backup and really, lead that team to a victory. Couldn't stress enough how important Petrie was as well, but just an all-around defensive and offensive effort from Metamora ultimately leading them to the victory tonight.
And after 2 weeks off, no less, they go out and beat the team that has really been the best team in the Mid-Illini Conference. And there you see the celebration is on. Rightfully so. Happy for the players, happy for the students that they were able to get a spring football season after the prospects looked grim for a good long while. And John, just think, we're going to get to see scenes like this here in a few short months once again.
Yep. Let's get, the potential 2 football seasons, which is nice, where he kind of threw us off watching football in the spring, and then you go right back into it in the fall. But I'm sure these 2 teams are going to love to meet up again and can kind of continue where it left off here.
Absolutely, and we want to take one more break to thank our sponsors for this football season. Tonight's coverage brought to you by the United States Army, with more than 150 career paths to explore, plus comprehensive benefits to help you along the way. The U.S. Army has what it takes. To find out more, call the Peoria Army Recruiting Station at 309-689-0071 or text AVKQ to GO Army. And by Jake Weston State Farm in Washington. Call 309-444-4441. It's Jake Weston State Farm. And by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Chevrolet in Washington. When you're shopping for a new Chevy in Central Illinois, visit the heart of Chevy Country for selection, savings, and more for your trade. UfteringChevy.com. And by Uftring Weston Chevy Cadillac in Peoria. From the iconic Silverado and Blazer to the luxurious Cadillac XT4 and Escalade, Uftring Weston offers world-class sales and service right here in Peoria. Visit UfteringWeston.com today. And the Redbirds drove like a Cadillac tonight, John.
They certainly did. Their ground attack was great tonight, and Washington's defense got close but just couldn't close the door on them. And what a great win for Metamora after that 2-week pause.
A 2-touchdown game from TJ Rising highlights the victory. The Redbirds come out with the upset to finish the spring season, so they will be atop the Mid-Illini standings with those Panthers and the Dunlap Eagles. That's where we will leave it from Malone Field and Metamora tonight. For our entire Clutch Sports media team, which endured some adversity tonight, Francisco Alonso on social media, Matt Harrington roaming the sidelines, snapping some pictures, John Michael on our game camera, Joey Wright at the controls, the most stressful job in the house tonight. And for my partner, John Camosa, I am Larry Larson saying so long and thank you for joining us all football season on Clutch Sports Media. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe on YouTube to follow what we're doing next. And, of course, we'll talk to you at some baseball and football games, or baseball and softball games. Big difference there. But for now, we say good night and so long from Metamora. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Good night.